Today I'm on the road in my car, ready to share a story with you. Take a seat, buckle up, and let's begin. Mom, what kind of box is this? My daughter's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I stared out the window, which had just been washed and polished to a high gloss, for a minute longer, and then turned to look at what exactly Natasha had extracted from the depths of my overstuffed closet. The decision to carry out a general cleaning and throw away or distribute all that clutter of unnecessary things stored in the house for many years was the result of a 2-hour search for my IN in every imaginable place. Until that day, a week ago, I was firmly convinced that all documents were stored in a folder specially designated for them. The search made me nervous, and their negative result led to a visit to the tax office in order to recover the lost document. It is unclear when. Actually, all kinds of unpleasant collisions related to various papers have been haunting me since I was a teenager, but it's a long story to tell. Now I was looking at a battered shoebox that my adult daughter, who volunteered to help with the cleaning, had placed on a quilted bed, archived letters, photos, postcards, diaries. Everything that reminds of childhood and youth, I said softly, with a sad half-smile. Yes, why have I never seen them? Her daughter's large, almond-shaped, gray-blue eyes lit up with a gambling fire of anticipation. As childhood, she loves to look at family photo albums and listen to the memories of older relatives. I must admit, I don't like to share my experiences. Probably because I don't find anything in my past that I would be happy to tell my daughter about. There's nothing particularly interesting there, daughter, but if you're curious, you can take a look. I reluctantly agreed, knowing that she wouldn't leave me alone anyway. She left her daughter poking around in the box, and she began sorting through the things piled on the mattress. Stuffing practically and used clothes into large trash bags, I mentally wondered why. The fuck did I keep all this? Memory? Now I couldn't help but recall the events of the past years that were associated with these things. When and for what occasion these dresses and suits were bought, the wedding of her husband's cousin, 10th wedding anniversary, and I bought this sundress in Feodosia during our last vacation, together with my ex-husband. Alas, the dreams of returning to their former form in order to continue wearing them remain dreams. From time to time, I glanced at my daughter, who was enthusiastically pulling out and looking at my childhood, teenage, and later photos. There were few of them. I've never liked being photographed. I considered myself unphotogenic. Cool picture. My daughter showed me a full-length photograph of me. This picture was taken in a photo studio at the age of 18. Back then, not many people in my environment had cameras, and I had to turn to the services of professionals to capture my image. A pretty girl with low-key makeup and loose dark blonde curly hair down to the middle of her back looked at me from the photo. A silk black blouse with ruffles and a short black skirt accentuated my very curvy figure. Her slender legs were encased in patterned nylon tights, which were in short supply at the time, and high-heeled boots added length to them. The boots were my mother's. Italian, obtained from the base by Big Fraud. Because my maternal aunt's husband was the first secretary of the district party committee, and she took full advantage of it. The luxury was incredible in those days. I smiled sadly. I think it's hard to recognize that girl in me right now. It's nothing special, daughter. Although then there was a different fashion and most preferred to be photographed sitting down, always belittling yourself. Mom, my daughter frowned at me, and you shouldn't have remarried. And you really wanted to have a stepfather in addition to your stepmother. I smiled mirthlessly. Come on, I'm doing well on my own. Yeah, and by the way, I can't break up between the two of you if anything happens. Don't start. At the very least, you'll take it to a nursing home, she joked awkwardly, not wanting to develop the topic. Would you like some coffee? Not waiting for an answer, she went into the kitchen to put the kettle on. After seeing Natasha off, I went to the garden, where the so-called recreation area was equipped. We didn't finish cleaning. We got carried away talking. We didn't meet that often, and we had even fewer heart-to-heart conversations. She's just like me. Since early childhood, she has been too independent, and I have never bothered her with excessive control. Apparently, she was unconsciously reproducing her own mother's behavior model. Although, unlike me, she was a desirable child. Sitting on the garden swing, she lit a cigarette, inhaling the bitter smoke with pleasure. I rarely smoked, mostly when I was upset or nervous. Now nostalgia has overcome sadness. Memories came flooding back. Agitated by her daughter's questions, her memory refused to calm down. Seeing events that seemed to have been buried in her dark labyrinths for a long time. I was barely 16 when I met her father. First love, hormones, and the absence of any fear of the future. The carefree, happy time of youth. Our romance in modern terms was sudden. At first, we didn't even like each other. I thought I was in love with his best friend, but he was kind of crazy about my friend. No, a friend is a strong word. More like a friend. We lived next door and, of course, walked together. At what point everything changed, and it's hard to remember now. I strained my memory. Probably at a school disco dedicated to International Women's Day in the 9th grade. We considered ourselves to be kick-ass adults. The guys managed to get a couple of bottles of wine, which we drank in secret from the teachers. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and we switched dances for fun. But how Victor and I ended up on the back stairs, and why we were kissing each other, couldn't be explained logically. And the fact that I allowed him very explicit caresses was also from the category of incredible, but obvious. The scandal was serious. The male friendship came to an end, and as a result, Sergei started dating Yulia, and Victor started dating me. He had been courting for almost 3 years. An almost platonic relationship. Petting. Kissing. We never got to the main point then, and then we had to fight at Sergei and Yulia's wedding. After some time, our friendship eventually overcame all far-fetched reasonments. The four of us came to the conclusion that it was fate, and later we even became family. Friends. But it didn't happen right away. Victor was jealous. It is not clear why and to whom. On the second day, a group of us were going to go watch a new episode of Star Wars, and I just intended to wear a short skirt. We were in a quarrel with my future husband for almost a year. The fact that he came to reconcile after so long was another surprise for me. By that time, I had managed to say goodbye to my virginity, to spite him, and gained some experience in dealing with the opposite sex. She didn't hide it from Victor. He, in turn, was without complaints, as he himself repeatedly tried to forget me in the lust arms of other girls. In general, during the year, we both managed to play around a lot. The reconciliation turned out to be stormy, exciting in the heat of passion, and lengthy. After all, the stars came together at the right point. After graduation, we signed our names, had a modest wedding, and began to live and make money. I got pregnant almost immediately after the wedding. Fortunately, there were no difficulties with work back then. We both settled down according to the distribution, and even a living space, even if it was office and with a move-in, was allocated to us. We've been married for 18 years. I even managed to live peacefully with my beloved mother-in-law for many years, living with her under the same roof. My daughter was 5 years old when, after another job cut, we were forced to move. It was just that there were more opportunities in the regional center. We overcame the difficulties of the 90s. Default, cuts, lack of money, shortage of products. We managed to raise a daughter, a smart girl, and a beauty. But we lost our love somewhere along this thorny path. The point of no return was a quarrel with his mother. It's just that my patience came to an end when I was told that I would be in charge. At home. The reason was the general cleaning of my apartment. The lines of a famous song came to mind. God, what a trifle. Do something wrong for once. Throw the trash out of the house. And invite old friends. But something must be seriously changed. Not afraid to lose in small things. Only the sky is free. Above my head. My husband didn't have the sense to stay away and not interfere in our showdown with her. The resentment increased significantly when he took her side. As a result, I burned out and frankly scored. I couldn't overcome this bitter feeling. I no longer cleaned up outside of our bedrooms with him and my daughter. She practically stopped cooking, not wanting to use the shared kitchen. I grimaced, remembering the hell I'd been living in for over a year. I had to endure to give my daughter the opportunity to finish her senior year. My depression was compounded by the deaths of one of my parents after another. Naturally, the intimacy between us is gone, as they say in Oblivion. The fact that Victor was cheating on me did not come as a complete surprise to me. I felt it subconsciously. I noticed all the signs. I just didn't want to admit this fact. His betrayal didn't hurt me. By that time, even the affection between us was already minimal. But I still hurt my pride. When my daughter went to university and left home, the last link between us broke. I couldn't stand this farce any longer. I initiated a frank conversation, forcing him to admit to having a mistress. As a result, we decided not to file for divorce until our daughter comes of age, to that preserve the appearance of the family, so that she could concentrate on her studies and settle into new conditions for her without worrying about our separation. After that, arrange everything by mutual agreement. Having received carte blanche for a free relationship, my precious husband shamelessly enjoyed life without obligations towards me. And I had to find a second job so that I wouldn't be stuck alone in a boring apartment. On weekends, fortunately, the shift schedule provided such an opportunity. In fact, I practically did not live at home, only occasionally spent the night between shifts at my main job and diligently supported my husband's delusion that I had found a lover. Of course, it's silly to say that I was sinless because it wasn't. I did not consider it necessary to remain faithful to the one who had exchanged me for another. I wanted to get my share of the attention of the opposite sex. And by and large, I didn't care who or what they thought of my person. Perhaps we would have stretched out the rest of the time until our Natalia's 18th birthday. But his passion suddenly wanted to marry him. Apparently, she couldn't stand it at all in her first marriage. And then, by the way, she met her first love at a reunion. Her text messages contained colorful descriptions of how bad I am. A woman of easy virtue and the like. An expression like, "How can you not love such a man?" And so on. I studiously ignored everything else. And she didn't even torture her spouse about how she got my phone number. The woman went out of her way trying to push me to the final breakup of the relationship, which apparently my faithful did not dare. The bolder was sent by the fact that he dragged her into our bedroom during the period when I agreed to stay with friends and look after their dog while the couple went on vacation to the sea for a week. And it wasn't even this blatant moment itself that finally pissed me off, but the fact that this woman, with the full consent of my still legitimate husband, packed my things into suitcases for a moment, and all this under the tacit approval of his mother-in-law. Victor just didn't have the courage to call and tell me straight out that we were breaking up. I was just thrown out. I was in a hooja. Totally out. A scandal? Claims? There were no words. Angry tears choked him. He just took her things and left. I went to my parents' house and started all over again. I've known a hell of a lot of men in the last 14 years since my divorce. I was an individual. Yes, I sold my body for money, and I'm not ashamed of it. Nor do I justify myself by saying that I was forced to survive. I just made a decision that seemed right at the time. Then there were lovers. Each of them was good in his own way. But I no longer had confidence in men. It was not to the extent that I could link my fate with any of them again. I preferred and still prefer intimacy without commitment. It's easier that way. Stubbing out her cigarette, she returned to the house. She put away the few things she had decided to leave and looked around the rooms of her parents' house, which had changed beyond recognition. More precisely, as a result of the major renovation carried out almost 9 years ago, it was now one large room competently divided by furniture into bedroom and kitchen living. Room zones. There was another small room in it, a hallway. My office, so to speak, it's light, with a mini sofa where I spend my free time reading or using my phone. I also equipped the bathroom, the object of my dreams throughout my childhood, adolescence, and youth. Repair was one of my hobbies. I really enjoyed making changes to the layout, changing the finishes, and watching the environment around me transform in the process. God, what a trifle. Do something wrong for once. To throw the trash out of the house, I'll have to finish cleaning tomorrow. Memory is good, but you need to make room for new things in life. Be careful on the road. See you soon.